1 second, right. I believe we have some footage that has been taken on a mobile phone. Let's have a look at it. Something happened on the coast of Northern Ireland that no scientist wants to explain. A drone captured a section of the giant's causeway moving like a sealed stone door. It opened for seconds, exposed something inside the cliff that investigators later described as deeply disturbing, which means it was built by somebody, someone bigger than us, someone better than us, then closed again without leaving a trace. Tourists felt the ground tremble, from the collapsing cliff bunker in China to the hidden Scottish pyramid and the Myra tombs that show signs of movement. The world holds terrifying anomalies. What appeared in Ireland now joins that list, and it may be the worst one yet. The moving rock door. The coastline of Northern Ireland is known for its cliffs and basalt columns, but nothing prepared investigators for what a drone recorded at the Giant's Causeway. A tourist launched the drone to capture the formations from above. As the camera hovered near a tall section of interlocking basalt pillars, one slab of stone shifted. It moved outward in a slow, controlled motion. It exposed a dark opening behind it. Several witnesses on the ground saw the same movement. Before anyone could react, the slab slid back into place. The rock sealed itself again. It looked completely solid. There was no gap where the opening had been. The basalt surface looked untouched, as if it had never moved at all. The investigation became far more serious when the first sonar sweep of the hidden cavity returned results that no one expected. The chamber behind the basalt door was not empty. The scan showed several tall, upright forms inside the hollow space. Their outlines were narrow and steady. They looked like human bodies, but they were far taller than any known ancient or modern population. The forms stood in an even line, spaced apart at exact intervals. The arrangement looked intentional, as if the figures had been placed there rather than formed by accident. Scientists who reviewed the scans in private admitted that the discovery did not match any known geological process. One geologist explained that basalt did not naturally form around objects in such perfect upright positions unless the objects were already standing in place before the rock hardened. Another expert pointed out that the chamber's interior showed signs of rapid cooling. This meant the figures inside the space could have been trapped during a sudden volcanic event thousands of years ago. A violent eruption could have forced extremely hot material through underground cavities. Anyone standing inside the chamber at that moment would have been sealed inside when the molten basalt cooled and hardened. The posture of the forms supported this idea. They had been upright, not collapsed or lying down, which suggested they were caught without warning. The fear increased when sensors placed near the chamber detected faint vibrations behind the rock wall. The movement passed through the stone in a slow, repeating pattern. Researchers believed the vibration came from pressure shifts inside the sealed cavity, but some admitted it could be related to the figures inside. Authorities refused to release the sonar images. They denied all reports of humanoid silhouettes inside the causeway. They claimed the basalt door was a natural illusion and insisted that no internal chamber existed. At the same time, they quietly restricted access to the exact section of the formation where the opening had appeared. Scientists who continued monitoring the site remained uneasy. The UK's secret pyramid. People expect pyramids in Egypt. They expect them in Mexico. No one expects to find one hidden deep in the Scottish Highlands. Yet, a granite pyramid stands there in the middle of an endless forest. The most disturbing part is that almost no one knows it exists. Queen Victoria ordered this pyramid to be built in 1861 after the death of her husband, Prince Albert. Her grief was overwhelming and began shaping her daily life. Historians often speak about Victoria's mental collapse after Albert died. She became fixated on mourning practices that were unusually intense, even for her era. She wore black for the rest of her life. She demanded her servants keep Albert's belongings untouched. She forced the palace atmosphere into a state of permanent mourning. When someone reaches this level of obsession, It is natural to question whether she wanted something more from this pyramid than simple remembrance. This is why some researchers believe the structure may hold meanings that go far beyond a memorial. It may reflect a dark fascination with death that she never spoke about openly. The pyramid is 41 feet tall and perfect in shape. It sits alone on a hill inside Balmoral Estate. 10 other stone cairns surround the area. Cairns are man-made stone markers. They usually mark territory or burial memory points. The strange thing is that the cairns around the pyramid appear to follow a pattern that no official record mentions. Some researchers studying old maps say the cairns line up with the sunrise during certain times of the year. This kind of alignment often appears in ancient ritual sites. It rarely appears in simple Victorian memorials. The fact that no royal document explains this pattern makes it even more suspicious. The location of the pyramid makes the story darker. There are no roads leading directly to it. You must walk through thick forest and uneven ground. Many visitors report that the area around the pyramid feels extremely cold, even during warm seasons. A few hikers have claimed their compasses spun in circles near the top of the structure. Compass failure can happen around strong magnetic fields. This has led some locals to believe the pyramid may contain a material that interacts with magnetic readings. No official investigator has explained these reports. They remain unconfirmed but persistent. Another unsettling part of the story comes from Ireland. Across the sea, a man named George Canning built his own pyramid in the 1800s. He visited Egypt and returned with a desire to be buried in a stone pyramid. He prepared his tomb ahead of time. Yet, when his death approached, he refused to be laid inside it. He asked to be buried elsewhere. No one ever understood his sudden fear. This led to local rumors that he saw something inside the pyramid that terrified him. People still say the structure feels occupied, even though it is completely empty. The Scottish pyramid remains in perfect condition, even after more than 150 years of harsh weather. Granite normally erodes and cracks under constant rain and cold. The highlands are known for extreme moisture, yet the pyramid shows almost no wear. Geologists who have examined it say the stone seems unusually resistant. Some believe special sealants were used. Others believe the construction methods were far more advanced than typical Victorian masonry. None of these theories have been proven. The Balmoral Pyramid sits in silence with no guide signs or warnings. It looks like a forgotten monument, but it does not feel forgotten. Many visitors say they felt watched while standing. Near it, Queen Victoria built it while drowning in grief. Whatever she wanted from this structure remains unclear, and that uncertainty is what makes it such a frightening landmark, the Myra necropolis. The cliffs of Myra do not look peaceful when you stand beneath them. They rise in sharp walls of stone, and every part of those walls contains openings that resemble windows. At first glance, they look like pieces of an abandoned village, but they are not houses. They are tombs carved into the mountain by the ancient lion elites who wanted to live in luxury even after death. These rock-cut tombs sit high above the ground, and the effort required to build them shows how powerful the families were. They wanted eternal homes that looked like real houses with carved balconies, pillars, decorated walls, and painted chambers. The people who built these structures believed that the soul needed a proper residence after death. They created entire cliffside neighborhoods for the dead. The most disturbing part of the site is a structure known as the Lion Tomb. It contains 11 stone figures that stand inside the chamber. They are life-sized and carefully positioned. Archaeologists believe they represent the family of the person buried there. Their eyes are carved to face the sarcophagus. Some experts think they were created as protective figures, but there are darker theories. A few historians believe these statues may represent attendants who were sacrificed to accompany the tomb owner into the afterlife. This belief comes from the unusual way the figures stare toward the burial chamber. Their fixed gaze gives the entire space a heavy and unsettling feeling. Deeper inside the necropolis, several tombs contain marks that create even more fear. Some chamber entrances show signs that they were resealed from the inside. This is a rare and frightening detail because no one can explain why someone inside a sealed tomb would try to break out. There are also scorch marks on walls and chambers that were sealed for centuries. These marks suggest fire was lit inside these areas. There is no clear reason for fire inside a tomb with no air supply. Some researchers fear these marks may indicate desperate attempts to escape or failed grave robberies that ended in tragedy. St. Nicholas's church sits directly below the necropolis. This means Christian worship took place under a massive field of ancient tombs. The idea that people prayed and held ceremonies while an entire cemetery towered above them adds another disturbing layer to the site. Radiation readings near several tombs are higher than expected for natural rock. The cause has never been explained, which makes the necropolis even more unsettling. The tomb of the wrong saint. Inside St. Mark's Basilica in Venice, visitors walk across marble floors and admire the golden mosaics above them. They rarely stop to think about the body lying beneath the main altar. They are told it belongs to St. Mark, the evangelist. The church has repeated this claim for centuries. The disturbing truth is that a growing number of historians believe the body may not be St. Mark at all. Some experts believe it may be the body of Alexander the Great, the most famous conqueror of the ancient world. St. Mark's remains were believed to have been burned in early Christian accounts. If this is true, then no complete skeleton should exist. Alexander's body disappeared in the 4th century after being displayed in Alexandria for hundreds of years. People visited his tomb for generations. Then the tomb vanished during a period of unrest. Around that same time, a mummy said to be St. Mark suddenly appeared in Alexandria. The timing has caused suspicion among many researchers. The story becomes more troubling when Venetians enter the picture. In the year 828, Venetian merchants stole the body from Alexandria. They wrapped it and smuggled it through customs by hiding it under pork. They believed Muslim inspectors would avoid touching pork. The body arrived in Venice and was placed in the basilica, where it still rests today. Oxford scholars call the theory interesting but unlikely. Some Cambridge researchers say the idea is completely plausible because no one knows where Alexander's body went after the 4th century. A few biographers say testing the remains could reveal the real cause of Alexander's death. If it's true that the tomb of Alexander was repurposed as the tomb of Mark, it would have been merely a repurposing of the city's pagan patron for the Christian patron and settle long-standing questions about whether he was poisoned or died from natural illness. There are darker concerns behind the silence of the church. If the bones belong to Alexander, the basilica has been honoring a pagan war leader for more than 1,000 years. Some scholars note that the body appears unusually well preserved, which suggests Egyptian mummification rather than Christian burial. This detail makes the identity of the remains even more questionable. Church officials refuse to approve DNA testing. Their refusal has fueled suspicion that the truth may damage religious tradition. Some historians fear that disturbing a mummy of this age could release ancient pathogens that have been sealed for centuries. The debate continues, and the body remains untouched beneath one of the most famous churches in the world, the Lost Cave civilization. Deep inside the mountains of Guerrero, two explorers stepped into a cave chamber that no one had touched for centuries in 2023. They expected simple rock formations. Instead, they found 14 artifacts resting on top of stalagmites that had been reshaped by human hands. The objects were not scattered. They were placed with extreme care, which means the chamber was used for ritual purposes. The artifacts belonged to a culture so unknown that even specialists struggled to describe it. The group is believed to be related to the Tlaco-Teowa civilization. Yet, older records use a different name. The name survives in only a few colonial notes, which shows how completely this culture vanished. Inside the cave, the explorers found shell bracelets carved with human faces. They also found smooth black discs made of stone. The discs were polished to a reflective surface. These objects were positioned around the stalagmites in a pattern that suggests ceremonial meaning. The stalagmites themselves had been manually smoothed, which means someone spent long hours shaping them with stone tools. This detail shows the cave was not a random hiding place. It was a controlled and sacred environment. Mesoamerican cultures believed caves were entrances to the underworld. They carried out rituals inside these spaces because they thought the cave walls connected the living world with the realm of spirits. The reflective discs may have been used for scrying. Scrying is the act of staring into a reflective surface to receive visions. Some ritual mirrors in Mesoamerica were used during bloodletting ceremonies. Blood was offered to the gods, and the mirror was used to contact supernatural forces. The black discs in this cave may have served the same purpose. Some archaeologists believe they contain small amounts of pyrite or hematite. Both minerals were used in ancient ritual mirrors that were believed to trap spirits. There are even stranger details. The caves show no footprints, soot, or smoke layers that would suggest repeated visits. Yet, the objects were placed with care. This means the people who used the cave either entered very rarely or had a method of moving without leaving traces. Some stalagmites show tiny cuts near the top. These cuts suggest blood was poured over them to feed the cave. This practice appears in other Mesoamerican traditions, which makes the evidence believable and frightening. Several archaeologists fear this chamber may be only one part of a much larger system. Mexico is filled with unexplored mountains and underground passages. Hidden cave networks from forgotten civilizations may still be sealed beneath the earth. The forsaken Masonic tunnel. Beneath a quiet part of Warsaw, researchers uncovered a hidden structure that immediately raised fear and confusion. It is a 200-feet-long corridor with a curved ceiling made of old stone. It lies under the grounds of a former palace. At first, historians believed it was a simple water cistern built in the 17th century. A cistern is a storage chamber used to collect rainwater. The size and shape seem to support this explanation. That changed when archaeologists noticed the carved niches in the walls. There are 40 niches arranged in rows along the corridor. They look similar to burial spaces found in catacombs. Catacombs are underground spaces used to store bodies. The disturbing part is that every niche is empty. No bones, no fragments, no remains of any kind. This has caused serious concern among the researchers because empty niches usually mean one of two things. The bodies were removed, or the bodies dissolved or decayed in a way that left nothing behind. The second possibility is extremely rare in stone chambers, which makes the mystery even darker. Historical records show that the corridor was taken over by a Freemason member in the 19th century. Freemasons often used underground rooms for private meetings. Some historians believe the niches may have played a role in initiation rituals. There are written accounts in other countries where members were placed in dark chambers as part of symbolic trials. The presence of empty burial-style spaces inside a Masonic tunnel raises disturbing questions about what actually took place there. The acoustics inside the corridor are also alarming. Some researchers reported a low vibrating hum in the tunnel. The sound continues even when there is no air movement. Prolonged exposure appears to create headaches and mild hallucinations. Low-frequency sound waves can affect the human nervous system, and scientists cannot find a natural source for the vibration. This adds another layer of fear to an already unsettling site. Another troubling detail comes from the Second World War period. The tunnel was used as a bomb shelter, yet wartime documents make no mention of it. This is unusual because large shelters were usually recorded. The absence of any reference has caused suspicion that the tunnel was deliberately kept official lists. The corridor is perfectly straight, which is unusual for structures from the 17th century. This has led some experts to consider the possibility of an earlier origin. The true purpose of this tunnel remains unknown, and the entrance is sealed while researchers continue to investigate it. Mammoth Cave mummies. Mammoth Cave in Kentucky is one of the most unsettling places on Earth. It stretches for more than 360 miles and is the longest known cave system in the world. The deeper parts of the cave remain unexplored because the passages become narrow, unstable, and flooded with dangerous pockets of air. People who enter the wrong area can become disoriented and trapped. For thousands of years, humans used this cave for shelter, resource gathering, and burial. This long and complex history has turned parts of the cave into a natural tomb. Archaeologists have found mummified bodies inside the system. The dry and stable conditions preserve the remains in a way that almost looks intentional. Some mummies are several thousand years old. The discovery that disturbed researchers the most was the body crushed by a two-tonen rock. The posture of the mummy suggested the person was kneeling or bending toward the floor at the moment of death. This has led to a theory that the individual may have been performing a ritual or entering an area that was considered forbidden. The rock did not simply fall at random. It appears to have come down during an attempt to access a deeper chamber. Other mummies found in the cave show unusual signs. Some bodies lie peacefully, with no evidence of struggle or panic. Their hands are folded or resting at their sides. This has led some experts to believe these individuals may have willingly entered the cave to die. Ritual death or voluntary entombment appears in several prehistoric cultures, and Mammoth Cave may contain evidence of this practice. Native American oral traditions about the cave are even more chilling. Some elders spoke about dark spirits that lived under the earth. They warned that the dead walked inside the tunnels and that certain chambers should never be entered. While these accounts are not scientific evidence, they match the sense of dread many explorers describe. The deeper parts of the cave contain high levels of carbon dioxide. The air can make people dizzy or confused. Some areas also create metallic echoes that geologists cannot fully explain. The echoes sound like distant voices or muffled movement. Several explorers have reported hearing whispering sounds when they were completely alone. No physical source has ever been found. Each new discovery in Mammoth Cave suggests that the system still hides dangerous and mysterious secrets. Turtle Graveyard. Deep below the bright blue waters of Cipidan Island lies a place that most divers refuse to enter. It is known as the Turtle Cave. It looks peaceful from the outside, but inside it becomes a deadly maze filled with narrow passages and complete darkness. The entrance sits 65 feet underwater. Once inside, the cave drops almost 2,000 feet into twisting chambers that are easy to enter and almost impossible to escape. Dozens of turtle skeletons lie inside these passages. Their shells rest on the rocky floor, and their skulls stare into the blackness. The scene is so disturbing that even experienced divers struggle to describe it. The cave was first discovered by Jacques Cousteau and his team during a documentary expedition. They found piles of bones and believed old turtles swam there to die. This explanation gave the site a peaceful meaning. Years later, a photographer rediscovered the cave and revealed a darker truth. Turtles do not choose death. They lose their way in the maze. Once they pass through the wrong turn, they cannot find the exit. They swim in panic until their air runs out. They suffocate in the darkness. However, some skeletons show signs that do not fully match a simple drowning death. Several shells have fractures that suggest violent thrashing or sudden impact. Some researchers believe the turtle struck the cave walls in a desperate attempt to escape. A few divers have suggested the possibility of large predators deeper inside the system, although no evidence has confirmed this. A very unsettling observation comes from the direction of the skulls. Many turtle skulls face the same way. Divers believe the animals turn toward the small amount of faint light that filters through the entrance. They died while trying to swim toward it. The uniform direction of the skulls gives the cave a haunting and unnatural appearance. Underwater sound recordings made inside the cave captured low moaning noises. Acoustic specialists say these sounds come from pressure changes and water movement, but the tone of the noises has frightened many divers. The sounds resemble distant cries. Some turtle skeletons are missing limbs. There are no bite marks or scavenger signs, which makes the loss of limbs difficult to explain. A few divers whisper that human remains have been found in nearby passages. These claims have never been publicly confirmed, but they add another layer of fear to a cave already known for death. The secret Celtic chamber. Archaeologists in Germany made an unexpected discovery when they uncovered a burial mound that contained a wooden chamber sealed beneath heavy soil. The chamber is more than 2,600 years old. Yet the oak walls and ceiling remain almost completely intact. The preservation surprised the entire team because wood from this period usually collapses or rots into fragments. The soil around the chamber created a low oxygen environment that slowed decay. When researchers opened the chamber, they realized they had found a rare and untouched Celtic structure. Inside the chamber were the remains of 3 individuals. The first was a youth between 15 and 20 years old. The second was a man between 25 and 35 who wore a rock crystal amulet. The third set of remains came from a cremation burial found in a separate container. Bronze nails scattered around the chamber once belonged to a chariot. The presence of a chariot indicates that this was a high-status burial. Chariots were reserved for people with wealth or power. They were placed in graves to symbolize status and travel into the afterlife. The discovery became troubling when archaeologists noticed the ceiling had been broken in one area. Grave robbers had tunneled through the top with remarkable precision. Their tunnel went straight into the chamber with almost no wasted digging. This level of accuracy is unusual for ancient thieves who lacked advanced tools. This detail has caused suspicion that the robbers knew the exact layout of the chamber before entering it. No one knows how they gained this knowledge. The position of the skeletons also raised concerns. The youth's bones were arranged in a way that did not fully match typical Celtic burials. Some specialists believe his position may indicate a ritual killing or a sacrificial act. The man with the amulet lays separately, and the crystal object has created further debate. Celtic cultures used crystals in divination practices. They believed certain stones could influence the soul after death. This has led some historians to wonder if the amulet served a ritual purpose related to guidance or soul containment. Soil samples from inside the chamber revealed organic compounds that do not match natural decay. These findings suggest that decomposition may have been altered by substances placed in the chamber intentionally. A few archaeologists whisper that the wood appears too well preserved. Some believe chemicals or plant mixtures were used to protect the chamber in a way that is not yet understood. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.